guns, as always. Actually, last session, I was very happy that my chief co-sponsor on the emergency protective order was Senator Boquist, a Republican. And he was a tremendous, it was just tremendously rewarding working with him. He's a fine legislator, and we got a much better bill because of it. And so I'm hoping that, as time goes on, that we will be able to get more cooperation on issues like that.
I think as we focus more and more on evidence-based strategies for gun safety and make it clear that that's what we're talking about. There was a great story this morning on OPB about Representative Smith Warner and Senator Manning's bill on child access prevention, right? The last thing in the world I think anybody wants is for children to get a hold of guns and hurt themselves or others. That's a tragedy, and it's avoidable. And there have been a lot of studies published, just data over the past few days, about the risk of suicide in teenagers going up dramatically in homes where guns are unsecured. And so we're really putting our focus on gun safety, and we're talking about evidence-based strategies to demonstrate that. So I think that's going to be very important.
The gun secure bill was something that Representative Wilson, Leader Wilson, talked about in our legislative preview last week, and he made it pretty clear that he wouldn't support that bill, and his colleagues probably wouldn't either. Is that something that you guys would just, since you have a supermajority, you just do it?
I don't give up on anybody. I really don't. I think, the only thing we can do, because I come from a time when I was doing background checks at gun shows in 1999, and I got 5 Republican votes on that bill. And the gun lobby was just as adamant then as they are now. I've had some success on this issue because I bring in gun owners. I had a long talk with one of my constituents who has multiple guns, including AR-15s. Had a very positive conversation with him. He agrees completely that we have to deal with child access. He doesn't like the idea of bans. He says, you tell me what hoops to jump through, and I'll jump through every single one of them. I just want to have my guns. And, if you have people, responsible gun owners like that, who are willing to work with you, I think that's a real positive step.
I want to say, I think the statistic of 80 to 85% or even maybe higher is, if you look at the evidence on who's on the bill and where the votes are at the end of the day, are we going to have policy disagreements on housing, healthcare, some elements of education, sensible gun safety? Those are normal. But I would say that one thing I've learned, being one of the newer members of this caucus, is how much I appreciate people bringing themselves and the values of their own constituents into the room. And I think with the Senate Democratic Caucus, the door is always open with any member to have a conversation about substantive policy. And so I know from my colleagues already that it really doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican. We are really open to what are the best ideas that are going to move the state forward.
Yeah, and you will see, or maybe you won't see, but it will happen out of your sight. Bills improved through conversations with people who will never be able to vote on them, or who will never vote in favor of them. But they will have their influence, their fingerprints, if I can say that, in making it a bill that speaks more to the entirety of Oregon. And my hope is that you'll see that with some of these firearm safety bills, right?
And maybe that'll be why they show up on the floor versus tonight. Just really quickly, something